when you earlier were talking about, the Australian government didn't do anything, the American government didn't do anything about that corruption. What should they have done?
Well, first thing you do is you call in the CEO of one of these banks that was handling the money and saying, explain yourself. And if you can't explain yourself, well, your banking license is suspended for the next 6 months. You get the amounts of money and once again, and you publicize this or have local people publicize it. This sort of corruption is just hated by people in Solomons and everywhere else it takes place. Give them the information and give them the ability to publicize this to high heaven, exactly what is going on. And this is just one example. What you also do is you find say the local politicians in Solomons who have bought real estate in Australia, in New Zealand, and have bank accounts there, sometimes via their relatives or by cutouts. And it's not hard to find out at all. And you get that information and you start seizing things. You start arresting people if necessary. You cancel visas for people, cancel residence permits. You make it so there is a cost for people who are going to play with this sort of corruption, this sort of Chinese money. But you've got to go after it. And I've heard people on the who should know better just explain it away as well. That's the way it works there. There's nothing we can do. And really, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard is that, well, it's too hard to find out where the money is. I used to do this for a living. It's really easy. And when a government goes after it, it's even easier. The US, for example, has excellent financial intelligence capabilities, and so do some of the other countries that are involved here. But there has to be a desire to cut down and eliminate this corruption, make it so there is a cost to get it playing that game. As it is now, there isn't.
Right. I actually, a few months ago, saw a copy of one of these documents that showed just like the list of all the money going to these different politicians. I mean, it would be funneled through some intermediary, right? Some project or something, but it was essentially like, $10,000 here, 20,000, 30,000 here. The sums weren't even that much, surprisingly. But you sell out to China for only $10,000. But it was very clear. You don't even have to do any further investigation, right? I mean, the information is already out there.
Yeah, that really, this one wasn't even hard. This was proverbial shooting fish in a barrel. And as you look at the names of some of the banks on that list, and as I said, you call in the CEO and have him explain himself, and very fast. Does that ever happen? Not very often at all, unfortunately. There seems to be a belief, well, these people don't deserve better. Whatever the reason is, I can't explain it. But this one was pretty easy. But as I mentioned, there's the other corruption that is involved. And I say a lot of it has been going for years, as I said, through Australia, through New Zealand, into real estate. And it's gone elsewhere. And it's not hard to track down. But that is, if you don't go after that, you really reduce your chances of success considerably. Because that is really the grease or the juice that helps the Chinese operate successfully and throwing their influence around.
How much Chinese money is flowing into and through the Solomon Islands now?
Oh, I don't have a figure, but what you've correctly identified is that it doesn't cost much. But what you do have is you have really Chinese domination of the timber industry, of the mining industries, of the fishing industries. And when what you notice when that happens is that very little of the money actually stays in the Solomon Islands. It goes somewhere else. And that is the nature of overseas Chinese business. It's a tiny percentage that will actually stay. And the locals just don't see much benefit from it. And you hear these complaints in all of those industries that I've just mentioned. Driving down the main road in Honiara, people would point out just rows of shops, and these are all Chinese owned, all of them, and there would be a few exceptions here and there, and they would note, as I said, that we don't see any benefit from it. The money doesn't stay here; it goes somewhere else. So this is all, all of it creates its influence. It does tend to create, and as I noted, there's a political angle to it because that money builds political influence. We've seen it happen. You buy off people. And there's also a sense, well, we don't want to get the Chinese mad because they do, say, build some other things for us. Well, they built us a stadium, for example. I would point out here, and it's worth noting that the Chinese have built a series of athletic venues for the Pacific Games, and they look nice, but the games are going to be held for about a week. And after that, what exactly are they going to be used for? Not much that benefits anybody. And then at the same time, and I had occasion to avail myself of it, if you go to the National Referral Hospital, which is the main hospital, um, it is pretty darn grim. And think about it, a stadium nobody's going to use, or a hospital that is needs a whole lot of work and needs a whole lot of improvement. Which would you rather have if you were in the Solomon Islands? But who makes money off of the stadium? Well, politicians and the prime minister, I'll bet you. So here we are. It's you could so it's almost like watching somebody slide off a roof from a distance, and you can see it happening, and you don't see much being done about it, if anything. I think though there is an awareness locally, and I would say I'm pretty sure the local American diplomats understand very well what's going on, but as is often the case, uh, once they get beyond, say, the embassy and get back to Washington, they're just another country. You just get in line for whatever help, whatever support you might get from the State Department, from the administration. It is striking, actually, just how uh, little support, little attention is given to a place like Solomon Islands, even though senior American officials have said in recent times, well, we're back, we're interested, we're going to be here, etc. But I would say if you go visit that hospital, you'll see it's just a lot of talk at this point. But as I say, locally, the few Americans on the ground are doing their best and have done a good job. But it's a challenge to get in and just to cut from a couple of years now and try to sort of shift things. But as I done, my impression is that, and I've seen this elsewhere, that in Washington they have some difficulty prioritizing their effort and putting resources where they ought to go and where they could do a lot of good.